to the Lord. It is a sacred assembly, and you shall do no customary work on it. These are the feasts of the Lord, which you shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire to the Lord, a burnt offering and a grain offering, a sacrifice and drink offerings, everything on its day, besides the Sabbath of the Lord, besides your gifts, besides all your vows, and besides all your free will offerings, which you give to the Lord. We'll conclude our reading at this point. The book of Leviticus, chapter 23, verse 38. You've been listening to a serialized reading of the Bible, the New King James Version, with episodes presented every morning at 8:15 on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Your reader has been Linda Lover.
The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Janice, and for the next half hour, I'll be reading from the March 12th issue of the Challenger Community News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Jefferson Avenue Streetscape. We keep hearing about the millions while living the delay. City planning documents cite $25 million, $32.5 million, and a separate roughly $26 million TIP figure, while construction dates shift. There is another detail the public deserves to understand. The outreach materials describe common streetscape elements such as resurfacing, sidewalk replacement, ADA curb ramps, restriping, pedestrian safety upgrades, bump outs, and possible green infrastructure. The ULI report makes clear that this is not a full street reconstruction. Instead, it describes a rehabilitation strategy that mills the asphalt, repairs deeper issues as needed, reinforces the base, and resurfaces the road. That matters because streetscape can sound like a once-in-a-generation rebuild. If this is a rehabilitation strategy, residents deserve honest expectations about what is being replaced, what is being left in place, and what done is supposed to mean. This is not about assuming that bad intent. It is about what the documents show and what the public still cannot easily verify. ULI itself reported that stakeholders viewed city investment on Jefferson as piecemeal or unnoticed, and warned that weak communication had contributed to mistrust and confusion. The solution is not complicated. The city should publish one public ledger for the Jefferson streetscape by phase. That ledger should show finding sources and amounts, which dollars are planned versus secured, the relevant project IDs, contract awards, contractor names, bid dates, change orders, payments made to date, substantial completion dates, and current construction schedules. Without that ledger, residents will keep hearing about millions while living with delay. Jefferson Avenue has the history. It has the urgency. It has the public promises and the public money. What it does not have yet is the one thing that turns promises into proof: a transparent ledger with receipts. Jefferson Avenue streetscape has 3 price tags, and the public deserves one transparent ledger. City documents cite 25 million, 32.5 million, and a separate roughly $26 million TIP figure. While construction dates shift from 2025 to 2026, residents are still waiting for clear answers about what is funded, what is awarded, and what has actually been spent. Jefferson Avenue has always been more than a road. It is Buffalo's historic spine of Black-owned businesses, culture, and community life. After the May 14, 2022 TOPS terrorist attack, leaders across the region promised that Jefferson would not be left behind again. But years later, residents are still being asked to trust big numbers without something basic that every taxpayer deserves: one clear public ledger showing what is funded, what is awarded, and what contracts were signed, what was paid out, and what work is actually completed. When the public documents are lined up side by side, one problem becomes obvious. Jefferson's streetscape keeps appearing with different totals and different timelines. When the numbers and schedules do not match, accountability gets blurry. A 2024 Urban Land Institute, or ULI, report lists Jefferson Avenue streetscape improvements at $32.5 million as a key city investment. But the same report also describes the work in 2 phases and says the 2 phases have a combined construction total of $25 million. In other words, one widely circulated planning document places $32.5 million and $25 million next to each other without a simple public crosswalk explaining how both figures fit together. The timeline also keeps moving. The ULI report says Phase 1, from Best Street to Main Street, is in design and construction, scheduled for 2025. Yet, a City Jefferson Avenue DRI 2025 slide deck says construction is anticipated to begin in spring 2026, with utility work beginning in fall or winter 2025. A June 2025 city press release then announced a $32.5 million Jefferson Avenue streetscape project and said Phase 1 was expected to begin in summer 2025. Later, the city's own project webpage posted Phase 1 construction for March 2026 through fall 2026. But plainly, the public has seen 4 different timing signals for what sounds like the same project: construction in 2025, summer 2025, spring 2026, and March 2026. For corridor businesses and property owners, those are not minor differences. Construction seasons affect staffing, inventory, tenants, customer access, and whether small storefronts survive disruption. Then there is the third price tag. The region's Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP, lists Jefferson as multiple phase line items. In the Greater Buffalo Niagara Regional Transportation Council, Draft 2023 to 2027, TIP, whose line items include Phase 1 at $2.70 million, Phase 2 at $3.95 million, Phase 3 at $2 million, Phase 4 at $4.50 million, and Phase 5 at $12.50 million. Together, those phases total $25.65 million, or about $26 million. That leaves the public hearing three different numbers tied to Jefferson's streetscape work. $25 million, about $26 million, and $32.5 million. All three numbers may exist in good faith, but if they do, then the city should publish one simple crosswalk showing exactly how they connect. Area briefs. Commission on the Status of Women names Kelly Dumas new board chairperson. The Erie County Commission on the Status of Women recently announced the appointment of Kelly Dumas at its advisory board's new chairperson. Kelly is also the owner of Kelly Dumas, LCWS, PLLC, a private counseling practice, and a co-founder of Dumas RISE, LLC, which provides consulting, training, and mental wellness programming. A respected community leader, Dumas has shaped initiatives that support women, families, and communities of color across Erie County. She created the Black Mental Health Team following the 2022 mass attack shooting in Buffalo, and leads the Building Capacity for Clinicians of Color initiative, a regional effort expanding pathways for diverse mental health professionals. Her work spans clinical practice, program development, advocacy, and systems change. With more than 20 years of leadership in mental health, social work, and community advocacy, she's committed to elevating women's voices, strengthening equity-focused policy, and advancing opportunities for local females of all ages. Kelly also pens a monthly column in The Challenger. TOPS killer trial to be held in Buffalo. Peyton Gendron, the white supremacist who killed 10 black people at the TOPS supermarket on Buffalo's east side in 2022, will be tried in Buffalo on federal hate crime charges. That trial will determine whether or not he will receive the death penalty. He was 18 when the massacre was committed. His defense lawyers were trying to have the trial moved to Rochester due to concerns over pretrial publicity and jury impartiality. They had initially tried to have it moved to New York City, which was also denied. U.S. District Judge Lawrence Villardo ruled on Tuesday, March 10th, that the trial will remain here, citing the need for victims' families to be able to attend without excessive travel and hardship. He also said that a fair and impartial jury can still be selected in Buffalo, despite Gendron's attorney's argument that it could not. The federal trial will begin with in-person jury selection scheduled to start in mid-August 2026. Application for Open Buffalo's Emerging Leaders Class of 2026 is now open. Calling all up-and-coming change agents across Buffalo and Western New York. Are you ready to grow your leadership, build power in your community, and create lasting change? Join the ranks of 200 plus emerging leaders who have transformed our region through advocacy, organizing, and bold action. Acceptance into the program is equivalent to a $6,000 scholarship. Applications are open now and close March 31st, 2026. Have questions? Join a virtual info session Thursday, March 19th at 6 p.m. Contact Leslie Nickerson at Leslie, Leslie, at openbuffalo.org for more information. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Challenger Community News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. City, State. State leaders slam Bruce Blakeman for endorsing far-right racist theory. State Senator April Baskin blasted Republican gubernatorial candidate Bruce Blakeman's recent comments endorsing the far-right racist Great Replacement conspiracy theory as unbefitting of anyone who is seeking to represent New Yorkers. Nassau County Executive Blakeman, a staunch Trump supporter, is running for governor of New York in the 2026 election. Erie County Executive Mark Poloncarz called out Blakeman for echoing a white supremacist, racist theory that no elected official should ever have. Residents of Buffalo know that type of reckless theory, race baiting, is very, very dangerous and it's violent. It was the same ideologies that were used by the domestic terrorist who took 10 of our neighbors' lives, said Baskin. Poloncarz also noted that the Great Replacement theory was the theory used by the shooter to kill 10 innocent people at the Tops just a few years ago. It's a white supremacist, racist theory that no elected official should ever have. Bruce Blakeman's comments are ignorant, reckless, and dangerous, Baskin concluded. Anyone seeking to lead New York should be condemning extreme conspiracy theories that inspire violence, hatred, and murder, not touting them. She said, New Yorkers are fed up with divisiveness. We want and demand leaders who value basic humanity. Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman is running for governor of New York in the 2026 election. A staunch Trump supporter, he's been designated as the Republican and Conservative Party nominee for the 2026 election. Black History. Bloody Sunday. 61 years ago, on March 7th, 1965, hundreds of people gathered in Selma, Alabama, to march to the capital city of Montgomery. They marched to ensure that African Americans could exercise their constitutional right to vote, even in the face of a segregationist system that wanted to make it impossible. On the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, state troopers and county members violently attacked the marchers, leaving many of them injured and bloodied, and some of them unconscious. But the marchers didn't stop. 2 days later, Dr. Martin Luther King led roughly 2,500 people back to the Pettus Bridge before turning the marchers around, obeying a court order that prevented them from making the full march. The third march started on March 21st with protection from 1,000 military policemen and 2,000 Army troops. Thousands of people joined along the way to Montgomery, with roughly 25,000 people entering the capital on the first leg of the march. On March 25th, the marchers made it to the entrance of the Alabama State Capitol building with a petition for Governor George Wallace. Only a few months later, Congress passed the Voting Rights Act, which President Lyndon B. Johnson signed. The Voting Rights Act was designed to eliminate legal barriers at the state and local level that prevented African Americans from exercising their right to vote under the 15th Amendment after nearly a century of unconstitutional discrimination. Fast forward to 2026. Meanwhile, as we celebrate the Selma March, the conservative majority Supreme Court is currently considering a case that could weaken the voting power of Black Americans, established by the 61-year-old law. This is a critical moment, said Cliff Albright, co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Find a nonpartisan voting rights group. Fund a nonpartisan voting rights group that is helping lead the education campaign. Basically, the very existence of the act is being questioned. Enterprise Charter, providing academic excellence in a family-centered school. In the heart of downtown Buffalo, Enterprise Charter School is bringing academic excellence and a powerful family-centered school culture to all of its kindergarten through 8th grade students. Enterprise Charter serves a diverse population of students and provides a wide range of services, including special education, English as a new language, and multi-tier intervention services. This Saturday, March 14th, is Open House Fun Fair event for students and families. Roswell Park hosts Women's Cancer Wellness Summit, March 21st. For a long time, hearing someone was going to Roswell Park Comprehensive Cancer Center prompted a feeling of despair and sadness. When I was growing up, if you heard somebody was going to Roswell Park, you basically thought of them as having a very grim prognosis, says Tricia Newman, MD. But so much has changed in cancer care since then, and so much has changed at Roswell. Since joining the pathology department a few years ago, Dr. Newman has seen firsthand how different things are. Getting a diagnosis of cancer or coming to Roswell Park are entry points, not terminal destinations. To help shed light on new treatment approaches to cancer that focus on the whole patient, not just their cancer, and to discuss how Roswell Park cares for patients into their surviving ship journey. Dr. Newman has organized a Women's Cancer Wellness Summit taking place from 9 a.m. until 1 p.m. on Saturday, March 21st at the Buffalo and Erie County Botanical Garden on South Park Avenue in Buffalo. More information and registration is available at https://www.roswellpark.org/WCWS 2026. The summit is free and open to women who were treated for their cancer anywhere, not just for Roswell Park patients. There's room for 100 participants who will be provided breakfast and light refreshments throughout the day, in addition to the opportunity to speak with wellness advocates, all while being surrounded by the warmth and tropical surroundings of the botanical gardens. Dr. Newman hopes the summit will encourage women, regardless of their cancer status, to sign up for screening services and gain a better understanding of the whole patient care offered at Roswell Park. Get started with your stockpile. In these times of uncertainty, it's always good to start stockpiling your pantry with shelf-stable food. Purchase things like dried and canned beans, all varieties of beans, rice, grains, yeast to make bread and pasta, canned fruit and vegetables, canned sauces, canned fish like tuna, sardines, salmon, mackerel, also cartons of prepared soups, broths, and stock, nut butters like peanut butter and almond butter, snacks like dried meats such as beef, turkey, jerky, dried fruit, nuts, chocolate, popcorn, olive oil, not too much junk food. Be sure to have cases of water and juice boxes. Ideally, these foods are best for emergencies, as eating fresh is always best. But never too early to start your stockpile of canned goods. But it can be too late should things you need start to become less available. So start your stockpile now. You have been listening to a reading of articles and features from the March 12th issue of the Challenger Community News. We read from the Challenger Community News every Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Your reader has been Janice. Thank you for listening.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have a reading of the Batavia Daily News. Following that at 10 o'clock is the East Aurora Advertiser, and at 11 we have the Niagara Gazette. Stay with us for these readings and more throughout the day. You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Our volunteer radio readers broadcast daily readings of printed matter to our listeners who are blind or have a print disability throughout Western New York and Southern Ontario's Niagara Peninsula. The Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service has brought nearly 40 years and more than 300,000 hours of radio readings to those without sight. Our broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED, For more information, call us at 716-821-5555. The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Debbie, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from the March 17th issues of the Batavia Daily News on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Our first article today, Cologne set for new parole hearing. Victim advocate says the notorious murderer hasn't reformed. Another parole hearing is looming for Angel Cologne. Cologne, age 52, is serving a 25-year-to-life sentence for the notorious February 25, 1997 rape and murder of Samantha Nicole Zaladar, who had turned 7 years old just 2 weeks before. A victim advocate and friend of the Zaladar family is asking that people voice their objections